Yo, welcome to the Table Talk podcast, where we sit down, pull up a chair, and we get started. This podcast is designed to provide you packed full of information to help you with your training, nutrition, lifestyle, and well-being, where we interview myself through case studies to give you lifetime experience. And then we also interview high-performing individuals or other career-focused people who are looking to make changes in their lifestyle, training, nutrition, and well-being. So let's pull up that chair and let's go. All right, so let's crack into a little more formal question time now. So, podcasting isn't always just about laughter or planning second weddings with potentially others. Matt could wear another suit, something different.
Yeah.
That'll someone different. But how did you? What was it like when you obviously? This is a silly question, but this is me just going, well, what's it like walking up the aisle? Seeing the man of your dreams, because obviously I could never do that because I wouldn't be the bride. Then part of me is like, well, why can't I? Kate can wear a suit, I'll wear the gown. So,
you could actually walk down together. That's a popular thing nowadays.
Yeah, but the thing is, you don't see them at the other side. So, what was that like for you?
Well, so Matt and I actually did a first look before we had the ceremony, and we did a private reading of our vows. So we had seen each other before, but the walking down the aisle, I found I was very nervous. And my poor dad, he actually has a disability, and normally he's a wheelchair user. But he experiences a lot of pain, like through his ankles in particular, and struggles to walk. But he wanted to walk me down the aisle, and I felt so bad.
Wow.
Because I felt like I ran down the aisle, like I was hustling to get to the other end because I was so nervous. And it wasn't until I watched the video back, I was like, oh, Dad, I'm so sorry.
On the ground crawling. Come on, Dad, hurry up.
I felt terrible because I was just walking far quicker than I needed to.
Yep.
I certainly wasn't in my Zen calm space then. But I don't know, it is a very special moment. It is.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Plus your dad goes, nah, I'm going to walk. This is her day. That's awesome. But
yeah.
What incredible. And then you speed walking.
I know. I always feel bad for that, but it was special.
That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. That's incredible. It's plus your dad. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, now that you're married, what's the life like at the moment? Most people, well, for me, it's wake up, do my thing. Kate stays asleep, get started on the day, and then we wrap up. But obviously now you've gone through a ceremony and ritual together. What are your morning and nighttime routines? Has much changed since that? I guess, has it changed much since doing yoga therapy training? So you've been doing that over the years. And then have you noticed a shift since wedding time? Or is it the same?
In terms of routine, not a lot has changed. I'm a stickler for routine. I thrive on an established routine. So I guess an average morning for me would be pretty simple. It's nothing groundbreaking, but normally I would get up, first things first, go to the bathroom, wash my hands and face, brush my teeth. I do practice tongue scraping, which is an Ayurvedic technique, which you may have heard of. And then depending if I'm teaching in the morning or if I'm not teaching, I'll jump in the shower first and then go off to teach a yoga class. Otherwise, I'll take myself to a yoga class. And then when I get back home, I'll then shower and do all the normal stuff before starting my work day. Have a coffee, have breakfast. And depending on the time of the year, I try and incorporate a meditation practice into my mornings as well. So because
let's rewind a little bit. So tongue scraping, for those that don't know, what is, are you just sitting there with your finger, or
there's a little it's not like a toothbrush, you can get plastic or metal, they're kind of like a curved arch contraption. I don't know the specific terminology for it, which is terrible, but basically you take it to the back of your tongue and then pull it forwards very gently, not roughly. You've got to be careful. And basically it just like takes anything off the surface of your tongue. So basically it's like a cleansing practice you can do.
Yeah. When did you start that when you started doing yoga therapy, or was that something you've done much sooner?
I'd heard about it before doing yoga therapy or studying yoga therapy. Through yoga, I've learned about this, but it's probably not since actually studying yoga therapy that I've really incorporated into my daily routine.
Yeah. And do yoga, practice, food, coffee, or coffee, food, and then sometimes, like, I know when I have espresso, unless there's a bit of color on the tongue, obviously saliva cleans itself, but would you then scrape it again?
No, I don't. I just do it once in the morning. Yeah, like first thing. Yeah, one of the first things I would do in the day, that and brushing my teeth.
Yeah. Do we do teeth first or tongue first, or doesn't matter?
I normally do my teeth first, but I think technically you should do your tongue scraping before brushing your teeth. Yeah.
For those that are listening, she has very, very white teeth. Like the white wall is not as white as those teeth.
Good, I'm glad.
And I'm kind of embarrassed because I'm looking at your teeth and my teeth, and I just got my teeth like dentally done today, and I'm like, they're not as white.
I bet it's just the lighting. Lighting, honestly,
I'll take that. I'll take that one. Yeah. Yes, I have my white set at only 50%.
There you go.
And have you noticed much difference doing it?
Yes, I think so. Like, it sounds bizarre, but it certainly makes you feel cleaner. Like, I know a lot of people might just brush their tongue with their toothbrush, but I do find it a cleaner process using the tongue scraper. Yeah, I notice a difference.
Tongue twister. No, there's a thing known as geo mapping. My acupuncturist was telling me about it, Chinese meridian guy, and he's like, yeah, it's just geo mapping. You'll notice that sometimes people get tingling on the tongue or like a furriness. It's actually an overload or stress on the body, which is interesting. It's just another way to cleanse. Cool.
Yeah, the tongue, actually, you can learn a lot by looking at somebody's tongue. I don't claim to be an expert on it, but it's more around like Ayurvedic medicine, and Ayurvedic doctors can, after assessing somebody's tongue, can kind of pinpoint, let's say, issues or illness maybe within the body, or like what can be improved just by looking at somebody's tongue.
No way. What have you learned so far? Tell me. Come on.
Would have to do a very detailed assessment.
Yeah, wow. Like, how long would an assessment take? Like, did they just stare at the tongue, or like, do they poke it?
No, I don't think they poke it. It's just like a visual thing.
But tongue, pull it out.
There's, I guess, a lot more than just looking at the tongue would go into like an Ayurvedic session with an Ayurvedic doctor or a yoga therapist. It's just one way of assessing someone. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. And do you do that, or is that what you're part of the yoga therapy through studies looking to take to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really look at people's tongues. It is more of an Ayurvedic technique, more so, but certainly yoga therapists can use that as another tool to assess what's going on in someone's body or in someone's life. But there's, normally a yoga therapy session would take about an hour, hour and a half, especially those initial kind of consults, and would go through a process of asking many different questions and kind of unpacking like what people are hoping to achieve throughout sessions, and also unpacking like what what it is that they're living through or dealing with, or yeah, so they're quite detailed.
Yeah, more realistic.
Sessions.
So from the morning routine already that scrape the tongue, you then leave and you do like your own training, which is mostly yoga, or what's the training currently you're doing at the moment? What's the routine you do?
Pretty exclusively yoga. I try and get to a class a day, or I'll do my own personal practice every day. Not always. I do try and keep up a daily practice, but sometimes life gets in the way. And on the odd occasion, I'll include a Pilates class, or once in a blue moon, I might go and work out in our apartment gym. But I mean, that's like every couple of months, I have to admit.
Some
So
records, yep. Let
yeah,
people catch
yeah.
up. Yeah, it's only fair.
With
It's only
my
fair.
with my TheraBand, it's about as far as my gym sessions go, but mainly just yoga. Yeah.
Put it on the dumbbells, put it on the
Yeah.
barbells, put it on the rack, put it on the rower, the treadmill. Oh, I've used all the equipment.
Yeah, there you go. Done.
All right. So doing yoga ideally every day with a cheeky Pilates here or there, and banded work on all of the equipment in the gym, maybe in a blue moon.
Yeah.
And have you done that for long? Like for the last 2-3 years, months?
I
How?
would say probably like the last maybe even like 8 or 9 years. As long as I've lived in Australia and discovered yoga, I've tried to like go as often as I can. But it varies, like different life. If there's different things going on in life, or work's exceptionally busy, sometimes, I'm only human. So it's not as, whilst I try to do it every day, sometimes, I give myself a break here and there.
Yeah. So, like for most people that may be listening, obviously they work with trainers or come from gyms. And I know I've done yoga myself. So usually you get the mat out, you've got your sun A, sun Bs, you've got your sequence. There's usually a flow that most people who would do it, but you with combined yoga therapy and obviously you working more intuitively with self, how does that practice work? Is there still a similar sequence, or is it turn up on the day? And as you said, sometimes you take the day to rest, sometimes like what are you doing to make changes to that?
So firstly, I'd probably separate the two. So yoga therapy is very different to practicing like my regular yoga practice. My regular yoga practice would generally consist of like either me participating in a class or doing a personal practice, which could include, like the sun salutations, or I don't know, rolling around on my mat, doing whatever I feel called to do. Whereas yoga therapy is more so working with individuals and giving generally shorter practices, or not even necessarily yoga practices. It might be breath work. Well, breath work and meditation are yoga practices, but it may also consist of like lifestyle changes or dietary changes, or so yeah, they're two very different things, I would say.
Yeah. So we've got one, which is the practice, which has a sequence or flow to it. And yoga therapy is really based off the individual, and ideally a shorter practice based off the individual and their needs.
Yeah, it could be. It can be many things, yoga therapy.
Okay, I'm not a yoga therapist. Okay. No. You're wrong, girl.
No, well, you're not wrong. Yoga therapy is, yeah, it's a very individualized practice. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean a set of poses or postures. Yeah, it's kind of encompasses a whole range of different things. So I don't know if I've answered that very well, but
yeah, if you're happy with it, I'm happy with it. Cool. And so, like, look, we're only in the first 2 hours of the day.
I know.
Ton scraped, we've done our flows, and then we've come home, we've had our food, our coffee, and then What's 8 o'clock? We're off to work. Well, what
Yeah,
time do you wake
8:30.
up at?
Oh, what time do I wake up? So it depends on whether I'm teaching a class or if I'm not. If I'm
Mm.
teaching a class, I get up at about 4:40 in the morning. And if I'm not teaching a class, it's about 5:40
Yeah. Oh,
in the
extra hour.
morning.
Very nice.
Yeah. I get an
Um,
hour, extra hour sleep.
love it. Meditation. And
Yes.
whereabouts are you teaching at the moment?
I'm currently teaching at a studio called Rhythm Wellness,
Yep.
based in Currumbin, Queensland.
Very nice. So if anyone's in Bronwyn, Queensland, there you
Yeah,
go. There's yoga for you.
check it out.
Um, and cool. So now we've got home, we've eaten, we're ready to go. Start our day. We're off to work. How do we start?
How do I start? Well, my full-time job is largely admin based, so and I work from home, work remotely. So mostly it's a lot of computer work all day, mostly working in front of the laptop. Yeah.
Yeah. And so just do that 8 hours straight, or do you break that up, have lunch, or like they're like some people with yoga. Oh, let's rewind that. So when it comes to yoga, a lot of the time there's breath work, there's poses, as you was mentioning, depending on the person, it's not a specific flow. So knowing that with your knowledge, you could stimulate increased digestion, you could help with cognitive function, movement. So if you've been sitting for a few hours or all day, are there things that you would do to break up the day to help your body help itself, then go eat or to go
Mm,
for a walk? Like, what are you doing to help
yeah,
support that?
definitely. I think it's really important to incorporate as much movement throughout your day as you can. And the best thing for me is going for a lunchtime walk.
Mm.
Normally, I also drag Matt along. It gives him a break from screen time as well. So normally, yeah, we get out, go for a walk. We're lucky enough that we live right by the beach. So whether that's along the paths near the beach or on the beach, whether it's like 20 minutes, if that's all we can spare, or 40 minutes, like the longer the better, really, just to also give your eyes a bit of a rest, your mind a bit of a rest, get some fresh air, especially if you're living and working in the same place. Like it's really important just to get out
Mm.
of your environment and yeah, just move. But for me, I love getting out and walking. And even when I lived in the city, I would still try and get out on my lunch breaks and go for a walk, whether that was around the block or in the nearest park. I think it's probably one of the most therapeutic things you can do, just going for a walk. And even better if you can get out in some form of nature, whether that is a park or the beach. Yeah.
So break up the day, go for a walk,
Yeah.
and then back to it.
Yeah.
Straight as that.
Basically.
And then probably wrapping up around 5:36, and then you're in the evening. And what's the routine that you do there? Do we drag Matt out again, go for another walk, or what's
Sometimes.
evening routine? Sometimes
His tolerance is normally one walk a day.
drag me
Um,
once. Why again?
yeah. He's pretty good actually. He goes swimming a lot more than what I do. Like
Oh,
he
awesome.
jumps in the ocean or the pool. And occasionally I'll go to the beach with him often, but I'll occasionally jump in the water as well.
If
But I
not, we
guess now we're
watch.
heading into Putnam.
If not, we watch.
Yeah, basically, we're just
Walking.
suntan, not suntan, but just relax. Um,
Yeah. So
yeah,
Matt, so we jump in the water. Um, we'll go for a walk. So we're doing, so so it's one, yeah. So you're obviously keeping active. You're moving about, which is lovely. Um, and then wind down. We've had dinner, as we all do. We eat some dinner and usually, chuck on Netflix, chill, and then just fall asleep on the couch, go to bed. What are you doing? Your evening routine? Because I imagine
um,
the structured animal that you are, I don't think that's probably what you're doing.
well, it varies. My evenings probably more varied than what my mornings are. But a typical evening, funnily enough, we don't watch a lot of TV. Generally, we'll put some music on. Matt typically does work a lot later than what I do, so I'll either spend some time reading or, depending on my mood, if I am in the mood to watch something, it'll be something on YouTube typically. Or I hate to admit it, scrolling on Instagram, probably my worst nighttime habit.
It's the
But
worst,
yeah,
isn't it?
it's
Started at 7. Shit, it's 10.
That's dangerous. But yeah, I don't know, it varies. Just a lot of reading, or if I haven't done any kind of like meditation practice or anything earlier in the day, I'll tend to do that in the evening. Nothing overly exciting on a typical night.
It's a routine that works. So what is so we've got listen to music, scroll, or if we
Yep.
missed a meditation practice, we're doing that. What does a meditation practice look like? Well, I guess I'd like to probably go, you've done yoga for like the 9 years since you've been in Australia. What was it like when you started, and how has it evolved over the years with all your upskill?
Oh, it's probably in some parts the same, and in other ways very different. Like I do a lot more in the way of like meditation or breath work now than I ever did when I first started. But I think for me, I fell in love with the practice as the moment I tried it. So I kind of like went all in. And it was at a time in my life that, I had a lot of time to do a lot of practicing. So I spent a lot of time in the studios and on the mat. So I do still really love that kind of environment. I do have more of a personal practice now than what I ever did when I started, but I still love that studio environment and being taught by teachers. I love, I'll always be a student first. But I am certainly doing like a lot more meditation, and even chanting is something very new for me, that I've only really just picked up within the last couple of years. And that was really influenced by yoga therapy as well. So, a typical meditation practice might look like some pranayama or breath work, and then mantra meditation as well is something that I tend to find the most useful.
Yeah. And for those that are going, chanting what, breathing what, probably the first one that a lot of us might know is Om. And those that are maybe going, yeah, I know that one. Isn't that all you do? Obviously, there's different sounds and chants that you can use to resonate. So I'd like to ask, have you got, like, I've got one that's about yay long, like gung, bung, bum, dum, da da bum. I have to write it down because I can't remember the whole thing. And Kate's like, you need to remember this. I'm like, ugh.
It's hard. Yeah.
Do you have you resonated with a specific chant based off like who you are and where you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, I love the bija mantras. I find them particularly helpful, and they're a lot simpler than some of the more, I guess, like song-like chants, which I also really have to focus. But I would say with learning a new chant, it's been really helpful for like focusing the mind, because you've got to concentrate. You've got to concentrate on the words to learn it. So I've actually found that to be a really powerful practice, really helpful for things like anxiety and stress as well, because it really does help you to focus and concentrate and all that. When your mind's going a million miles an hour, that's literally all you're thinking about. So there's a couple.
Yeah, it's quite powerful.
I tend to turn to. Yeah.
Stress, anxiety, just to think a sound or a breath, a type of breath could definitely help that, which not everyone knows about. So, like, is that if we were to kind of compare, like a lot of us are stressing, but usually when we stress, we're pushing through something quite hard and we either have a big win, big highlight, or a big loss. So have there been any highlights or big challenges that you've experienced through this studying of yoga therapy and that's taught you the chanting, the breathing, the meditations that has really helped you to harness it more? So to recap, biggest highlights through, because obviously you started yoga, was it 9 years ago, or you've been always done it, but it's just you've really started to take control of it in the last 9 years since coming to Australia?
Well, no, I started practicing 9 years ago, so from having never practiced before. And I've been teaching for, I think, 5 or 6 years now, but studying yoga therapy for the last 2 years. So, which is a completely different like realm of yoga, I guess you could say.
Yeah. It's never ending, right? There's what?
Yeah,
The tens of thousands of
learn
years of history.
stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
So obviously, well, for me personally, I think the biggest highlight for me I ever had was actually doing it. I remember the first time when I was like learning and studying it, like it started off, I'll just get paid to do it. And then obviously my first week I was there working on my laptop in the corner. I'm going to do work. And everyone was like, oh, okay, this is like, I was the weird guy, like, yeah, do work, whilst learning. And then after a week when I started to open up, they're like, oh, the golems come out, eh? I'm like, oh, okay. It was just comical because, I then was like, why am I working when I'm here to learn and to help myself? So big highlight for me was actually starting and doing yoga. But obviously you've got 9 years, so much more experience than myself. So what type of highlights have you had over this 9-year journey?
I think some of the highlights would include working with the incredible teachers, or I should say, learning from the incredible teachers that I've studied with in the past. Like I've taken something from every single course that I've done, and it's kind of set me on this trajectory of continued learning. I've probably lost count now the number of trainings I've done, but I just enjoy it so much that it led me to study yoga therapy. And I think just working or learning from the teachers that I've had the pleasure of spending time with and kind of soaking up their knowledge has been the biggest highlight. And then also also completing the yoga therapy course as well, like that was really quite challenging. There was so much to learn and I still only just feel like I've scratched the surface. So I still feel like I'm continuing to learn, but having completed that course, that was a really big achievement. And then also just working with the students as well. When you do see shifts in their lives, positive shifts in their lives, like that's really rewarding, not only for them and the hard work that they've put into their practice, but also for me as well, being able to support them. And I think there are just a few.
There's highlights every week, really, because you said you're always putting yourself in, you believe you should always practice, obviously in studio and teacher environments, so you're always getting knowledge. Then, well, you can't keep redoing your yoga therapy, but you probably pick up some more things, right? And also then helping new people every week. So that's awesome to really capture that. Cool. So from our morning routine of brushing the teeth, scraping of the tongue, wake up, then brush the teeth, scrape the tongue, then we've going out, doing our own practice, which we've been doing for the last 9 years, nearly every day, with some Pilates and cheeky blue moon banded work on all of the equipment, of course. You've got to use all the equipment. Wouldn't be training in the gym if you didn't. Then go to work, obviously create an experience for people around Australia, then come home. Oh, midday, got to walk, go out, drag the partner around. Willingly or not, Don't be fooled, people. She's quite strong.
Oh, I
You
don't
don't have
know.
to just lift heavy weights to be strong. And then wrap up the day, go for maybe a swim, another walk, clear the head, or do that mostly lunchtime. And then if you haven't done any meditation or pranayama or breath work, you'll do that in the evening. Or some miraculous reason, it will happen to find the scrolling of the Instagrams or the YouTubes. Not by choice. The YouTube or Instagram made you do it, of course.
Oh, of course.
All the time. Yeah.
Just get drawn in.
That one video, that one reel, 30
Oh,
seconds,
yeah.
boom. 7 p.m. is now 10 p.m. Matt's like, let's go to bed. You're like, what?
Meanwhile, he's probably still working, sadly.
Get back to work. I still got 1 more hour. And then and through that, then obviously nice restful sleep and start again. And then you've got all these highlights. This, what I would say probably in summary would be a great ritual that provides highlights every week. So, some people having a highlight, I got the car or I got the promotion, like it's shortly lived, but you're in a position where your highlights and what you do is really incredible because you can continue to learn and you can continue to help more people, which is great. And it really just starts with yourself, so you've got more energy for more people. So that's a summary of the routine and what you do from a day-to-day basis. But then how would one summarize Serene? Like, in the sense of, like, obviously you've got so many years of experience. It'd be great if we could put our head on your head and be like, oh wow, you did all that. But how would we summarize you, like, as a person, and maybe like 3 words? Great smile, caring, ambitious. You do your words though. And then kind of where do you see yourself going in the next 1, 3, or 5 years? And sometimes people get stuck on that one. They're like, oh, wow. I like to then think a theme. So what would be your theme if you're going through the journey of your own life? What's your theme for the years to come?
Okay, interesting. Okay, so if I was to choose 3 words that would summarize me, I think bubbly, positive.
Dellit.
What was that? Sorry?
Dellit.
Dellit. I'm struggling for a 3rd word.
Well, you recently just changed your surnames. There you go.
There you go. Yeah, or delight.
Boom. A delight.
Some people, Matt would always say that people would mistake the pronunciation of our last name, which is Dellit,
Really?
as delight or delete. So depending on what mood I'm in, someone gets it wrong. You're either getting delight or delete.
I've been quite obviously. That's funny. I'm amazed that I haven't made that mistake and gone, hey, delete, or hey, delight. That's great. Wow, that's awesome. Delightful. Well, obviously, it's been delightful to know you all these years.
Thank you.
I thank you for not deleting me.
Thank you.
But maybe after this podcast, maybe wondering why we haven't talked for a while. And then, then, well, it's a delightful time to move forward in life. There's your summary and there's your theme. But
There you go, yeah.
what would you? Where are you going? What's the theme for Serene? Like, we've done the course, we're helping people, we've got our routines, traveling Australia, learning, we're growing. Yeah, you just can, as you said, it's calmer now. So obviously the calm before the storm. Have you heard of the phrase "a storm in a teacup"?
I have, but I've never really quite understood the meaning behind it. You'll have to elaborate.
Well, I just found out last week. I thought it was an incredible saying. Like, storm in a teacup. For me, it's like she could be going crazy. I'm still going to have a sip through that teacup. But obviously you can take it in sips or moderation, or just
scull it. Yeah.
What would
take
the
it in
theme
one
be?
head.
What would be this theme for Serene?
All right, a theme. I mean, two things come to mind, I guess. That continual learning, like always learning, just absorbing whatever knowledge I can. But another theme for me at the moment, anyway, is just creating more ease, like in anything and everything I do, making life more easeful, in whichever way I can. Not just for me, but also like clients or people I'm working for or with. For now, anyway, we tend to make things quite challenging for ourselves, but yeah, I'm
Easy
in a
for now,
period
but we'll
of
go
life
hard
where,
soon.
pardon,
Make it easy for now, easier, and
yeah.
then one day just go, let's make it real hard.
But sometimes, like you go through a challenging period that will eventually, what the hard work that you put in now will eventually make your life ultimately more easeful, hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah, well, like you said, with just on the yoga therapy and yoga itself, through certain techniques you've found helpful to decrease anxiety, improve focus, which obviously didn't come straight away. So you've obviously found that over time. Yeah,
Right.
cool. So continue learning, but with a focus to make life easier. So go through the challenges and then ask yourself, how could we probably not do that again, but make it easier for ourselves? So, we can take bigger sips of that storm in the teacup.
Yeah.
So for those that have tuned in, that would be a summary of Serene as a routine, what she's doing from day to day, and kind of a bit of a reflection of what she, some highlights and some reflections of what she does to summarize herself and her themes and how she moves forward with that. So Serene, thank you so much for today's podcast. Really excited to have you. And for those that are interested in understanding a little more about yoga therapy and learn more about her role models and what she's achieved up to date, tune into the next podcast and we'll see you soon. Cheers, Serene.
Bye.
Hey, thanks so much for joining the episode of Table Talk today. We hope you found some helpful tips and inspiration in staying healthy and fit, even with a busy schedule. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast. Stay tuned for our next conversation. Until then, keep prioritizing yourself, your health, your fitness, and we'll see you on the next Table Talk.